In paper 4 of this thesis, we investigated participation, the concept of participation within the context of the ICF, the International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health. So participation is defined as the involvement in life situations. And we know that participation is a major goal of not only rehabilitation and health services, but it also validates the quality of care. Besides from being a main goal, it's also a fundamental human rights. So people are entitled to fully and effectively participate. For the spinal cord injury population, there is no set or criterion outcome measure that evaluates the concept of participation. Therefore, we decided to perform a qualitative study to better understand how participation is conceived, how it is characterized, and how it is influenced. So we wanted to know, do people participate in South Africa or in Cape Town concerning the current healthcare system? So we included 17 individuals with long-term traumatic spinal cord injuries. They had to be adults 18 years or older, and they must have made a transition from hospital institutional life to community home life. And we found that participation, the overall theme was that participation is indeed a possibility in the current environment or the healthcare context. Individuals described that participation, there were 4 critical aspects that needed to be considered in order to fully participate within the local context. Most of the individuals, if not all, highlighted that it was important for them to deal with the new self. That was category 1. Individuals had to initially negotiate the negative emotional responses because of the spinal cord injuries. Thereafter, they had to cope and adjust to the spinal cord injury. And lastly, they had to find new meaning. New meaning was important in order to define, to reconstruct the involvement of life situations that individuals would like to perform after the injury. So finding new meaning was defined as when an individual could actually imagine situations and elements of the past and project that into the current and into the future. So as individuals redefined their involvements, they found that they had to negotiate many obstacles. So category 2 was labeled a journey dominated by obstacles. These obstacles arise from the injury itself, the limitations, the psychological impairments, the functional impairments, and most of the codes were derived from environmental challenges. And the environmental challenges were thought to be those that represent the physical spaces that people need to move in within the home environment, within the community, and also the negative attitudes that they had to deal with of the able-bodied society. And most of the codes derived from these interviews were from system insufficiencies. Individuals highlighted that the system did not respond well enough to the needs of survivors of traumatic spinal cord injury. Individuals highlighted that transport was a major issue, and that housing was also a problem after spinal cord injury. But as individuals negotiated the challenges and the barriers to their participation, the involvement, they had to be aware of facilitating factors, and the 3rd category was the catalyst of participation. In this context, the catalyst of participation was peer support. Individuals found that peer support provided them with a platform where they can share their doubts and the fears about the future, and they can also hear from a person that had first-hand experience how to deal and how to live with a spinal cord injury in South Africa. So they subcategorized that as information sharing. They could share information between the peer supporter and themselves. And also they found that they could become friends with these individuals. And lastly, becoming a model. Because of the peer support that they received, these individuals wanted to become peer supporters in the future. And the 4th and last critical aspect to negotiate along the path of participation was becoming an agent. Individuals highlighted that they had to reconstruct meaning. They had to reconstruct what are the activities or involvements, the rights and responsibilities that they would like to carry into the new life now, living with a spinal cord injury. But they also indicated that they have to resist exclusion, because you find many challenges along the path of participation. And lastly, becoming a strategist was an important attribute in order to enjoy a full and effective life after injury. So we conclude that participation is indeed a possibility in the current healthcare context, and that we should be aware of the personal and context-specific barriers that individuals face in order to address them and in order to facilitate participation. And we should also consider the widespread adoption of peer support for all individuals living with spinal cord injury. Thank you.